What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Classic Chronicles. Now, let's get serious this week. I try to keep it lighthearted on here. Try to tell you fun stories, maybe a little bit of suspense here and there. But I wanted to get kind of serious for this vlog because I feel like I need to tell the story. So the year is 2006. I had just graduated high school. Shout out to LIC and everybody that I met there and formed lifelong bonds with. But that's not what this story is about. So I had just graduated high school and was going into my initial freshman year at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. See, I've always wanted to become a lawyer. That was my dream since I was a little kid. I I've seen a lot coming where I come from. I've seen a lot of people get done wrong by the criminal justice system. So I figured if there was any way that I could help them, help those people that have been done wrong, as well as those people around me that need help, then I've done my job. So that's why I wanted to become a criminal justice lawyer, and that's why I majored in criminal justice at John Jay. Um, so in 2006, when I entered John Jay, everything was all good. Started out good. Classes were going well. Then around October, about 2.5 months into my initial freshman semester, one day I'm sitting in my CSL class, which is an introductory class that all freshmen need to take in order to get acclimated to college. Like, it's a mandatory class. Doesn't count as your major. It's just part of the curriculum. So I'm sitting in that class, and all of a sudden, um, I I I feel an itch in my left knee. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's just an itch, whatever. So I scratch it, keep going with the class, and then but what do you call it? For some reason, when I went down to scratch my knee felt unusually warm. So then I'm like, oh, I didn't think anything of it. Maybe it's just the heat in the building or whatever. Okay, get done with my classes for the day, and I go to the cafeteria before I'm about to leave the building, and just to grab something to drink on my way home. So and then my knee's still warm, so I'm like, okay, what the hell is going on here? I get a little panicky because I've never felt like this before. So I call my mom. I was like, I step outside. I step outside into the. It wasn't cold because it was still like the middle of September, and it doesn't really get cold here until maybe the end of September, going toward the beginning of October. Although that's not always accurate, but that's usually when it happens. When it comes to New York weather, it's unpredictable. So what happened was I feel my knee. I feel my knee, and it's warm. And my mom goes, "Okay. When you get home, I'm gonna take a look at it." So yeah, okay. I hang up. Just on my way home, I think that I'm like, maybe it's just my clothes I'm wearing or whatever. Maybe this will cool down, this will subside or whatever. So mom gets home, and I get home, and my mom takes a look at my knee. She's waiting for me at the door. So I she takes a look at it, and she feels it, and she's like, yeah, it is warm compared to your right knee. My right knee, was normal temperature, nothing crazy. So she goes, okay, just let's go to the emergency room just to get it checked out. Make sure nothing's wrong with it. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we go to the emergency room. We sit there for about 2 hours. I know all of y'all that have been to the emergency room know what I'm talking about, because there's always something crazy going on over there. So we're sitting there 2 hours. We get checked out by the nurse. Takes my temperature, blood pressure, everything's normal. Okay, cool. So about 30 minutes after those 2 hours that we were waiting, we finally get called back to the room to get checked out by a physician. So I'm sitting there, and the physician's asking me, how long has this been like this? And I'm like, oh, just it just happened. It just happened today. Nothing like this has ever happened before. And then he goes, okay, cool. He takes a look at my knee, feels it. It's warm still in the center, warm to the touch, and it's like, okay. So he's like, okay, that he needs to get out of the chair. So I need to get out of the chair because he wants to examine my knee further, lying down on the table. So I get out of the chair, take off my pants, put on a hospital gown, and then he comes in with he's like, maybe there's some fluid in there that needs to be drained. So he comes in with his long ass needle, sticks it in the knee joint, and just wiggles it around in there. He's like, okay. Then he takes a look at the needle, comes back and says, okay, there's no fluid in there. Maybe he hurt it or something like that, because back back in those times, I used to get around my apartment. I used to have to crawl on the floor to, maybe I heard. He's like, okay, maybe he heard it crawling on the floor when he was getting around and didn't notice it. So then he's like, okay, he wraps it in an ace bandage, and gives me some medicine, tells me to sleep it off, and it'll feel better by Monday. Which is cool because it was a Thursday, and during my initial freshman semester, I had Fridays off. So I had the whole weekend to chill, just let the knee do its thing, let it heal, and be back rolling on Monday. No problem, cool. So as the weekend progresses, I'm getting noticeably worse. Not only is my knee warm to the touch, but now my entire left leg is inflamed, and it has fever and all of this. So I'm getting progressively worse as the days go by. Monday staying in bed all day, Tuesday in bed all day, Wednesday in bed all day, and then my mom goes, okay, if you're not better by tomorrow, we're gonna take you back to the emergency room, and we're gonna figure this out, because this is crazy. I wasn't getting better at the time. So she takes me back, and the doctor examines my knee again, and he says, you have what's called cellulitis. Now, for those who don't know, cellulitis is an skin infection caused by a cut, or an open cut, or sore on anywhere in your body. If not treated properly, cellulitis can lead to sepsis, which is a blood infection, and then that could ultimately lead to death. So he didn't want to do that. So I had cellulitis, and the way to treat that is with IVs. So I ended up, it had gotten to the point where it was affecting my lymph nodes in my throat. Just my whole leg was swollen, about the size, 2 to 3 times its normal size. It was insane. I've never experienced pain like I felt that during that time. I'm telling you, it's probably the worst pain that someone could ever feel, because it feels like someone is constantly stabbing you in the leg with a knife, and it's no end in sight. So during that time, I had to I had to withdraw from my initial freshman year in college, and try to combat this thing. So I did. I spent about 2 months in the ICU, because it was that close to that I was that close to dying. I wasn't in good shape. It was a little rough there. And then after ICU, I had gone to rehab, physical therapy rehab, at Rusk, which is a place that I've been before because I used to do outpatient therapy there. But that was like the first time that I've ever stayed at a hospital, so it was a whole different experience for me. And just trying to get through rehab and get back to college was my only goal, man. What do you call it? I ain't gonna lie, there was some tough times there because like it was the entire time I was rehabbing, it was during the holidays. Christmas, Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving of '06, I wasn't able to go home because then I had an IV in my arm, still battling the cellulitis. So my family had to come up and spend the day with me, but you know, it was nowhere near, just being at home and us sitting around the table and bullshitting like we normally do. There's none like a Roman Thanksgiving, and those of you who have spent time with my family can attest to that. So, and then the worst part of it was Christmas. I had before Christmas, I had gone home like a week before on a weekend pass. What's called a weekend pass. So basically, you leave Saturday afternoon after all your classes are done, and then after all your workouts and all your classes are done, and then you come back Sunday night. You get to spend maybe a night and a half, a day and a half at home. And the first time I came home, I'll never forget it. I was I had stayed. Excuse. I had been hadn't been home in 4 months up until that point. So as soon as I got home, I remember just standing in the doorway of my room for 30 minutes, just taking it all in, and everything was the way that I left it when I got stretch it out um, stretch it out by ambulance. That was crazy because that night that I got stretched out of here, my whole family was watching. Like I've never gone through that before. It was absolutely insane. My nieces were crying. My sister was distraught. It was crazy. It was like one of the most solemn moments that I've ever been a part of. My mom was trying to hold back tears, as she was riding in the ambulance with me. But I gave everybody a thumbs up and assured everybody that I'd be okay. And I was gonna get through this, and I was gonna fight and do everything in my power to heal. Um, so everything was the way that I left it from that night. I hear my home health aide Sarah had told me that my mom didn't let anybody go in my room while I was gone and everything like that. The only thing that was done in my room was kept clean, mopped, swept, whatever. But other than that, nobody went in my room and touched anything, which is cool. So I remember just standing in the doorway for about 30 minutes and just losing it. And I just lost it. And my mom, who was like standing behind me, she like hugged me, bear hugged me so tight. And I just cried. I don't know. I don't know what came over me. It was just a wave of emotion. And so I had done that, and then I had done that, and I had went to rehab, and I went home. I went home for the Christmas break, and we that Christmas break, I had slept the entire day. I was not in the mood to open presents, celebrate, none of that. I just slept on my bed the entire day, man. It was absolutely surreal. I had never done that on Christmas before. Normally, Christmas is a huge spectacle. We open gifts, family comes over, dinner, huge dinner. Everybody just having a good time. It's all about family for me. But that particular Christmas, I wasn't feeling it, man. I just slept all day and opened my gifts, and had to go back to rehab like that night, and didn't really get to spend time with family. So um 2 weeks after the Christmas break was New Year's. I mean, a week after the Christmas break was New Year's. Got to go home for New Year's. I was feeling better, and I was told by my doctor before I left home that I was gonna go home the week after. So that gave me something to look forward to. Um, so I the went home the week after New Year's. We almost got in trouble on New Year's because I didn't come back at midnight from my midnight pass. I We came back at like 3 in the morning, and little did I know that I was gonna work out the next day. So I kind of paid for that. But it was all in all a good time. I got back home. 2 weeks later, had 2 weeks off, and then it was back to my initial freshman semester at college. And the whole time, I was taken care of. My financial aid checks were still coming in, and it was. I thank Professor McGee, God rest his soul, at John Jay, for taking care of me during that whole time. He told me just to focus on getting better and don't worry about anything else. Yeah, so I got back, came back from my the spring semester in 2007, and my best friend Crystal, who you will hear about later on. But that wasn't the first time. That wouldn't be the last time, I should say, that I will find my way back into rehab, and we'll get into that at a later vlog, maybe next time out. But anyway, that was this vlog, and I am Izzy. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. And I will see you on the next one. And as always, put God and family first, and everything else will fall into place.